Sergey, good morning for me. Good afternoon, almost good evening to you there in the Ukraine. Your weekend is about to start. So thank you very much for agreeing to participate in this informal chat, but with a lot of very, very important information. You and I both represent countries that are extremely important to the world agricultural stage, and especially to the culture of corn. And I believe that, there's so many things that we can learn from one another. And I felt it was important that we both share with our clients some insights for your clients regarding Brazil and for our clients regarding this beautiful country of yours, the Ukraine. So, Sergey, let me sort of start out, if you don't mind, telling our Brazilian clientele a little bit more about the Ukraine, about the growth of agriculture in the Ukraine, and the importance that it has not only for the Black Sea market, but also for the world market, specifically for corn.
Well, okay. Hello to everybody. Pedro, thank you very much for your introduction. Well, I really happy to be here as agricultural markets are currently depend heavily on weather and on origination also. Well, as for Ukraine, Ukraine is one of the biggest of the world biggest agricultural producer. Last season, Ukraine exported roughly 55 million tons of all grains, about 55 million tons. In the current season, by the way, the current season ends just in 10 days, something like that.
Okay.
Yes. So in the current season, total grain, I would like to stress out, grain export declined from Ukraine, but mainly because of low grain production last year because of severe drought.
Correct.
Well, anyway, as for corn, corn is one of the most important crops for Ukrainian agriculture. Other crops are wheat and barley. Well, wheat production varies about 25-26 million tons, again depending on a year. Well, barley is 8-9 million tons, something like that. Well, but as for corn production in Ukraine increased four times for the previous 10 years.
Wow.
From 5.7 million tons up to 35 million tons. It was in 2019, and last year it was 31 million tons, with quite impressive export at level of 25 plus million tons. Well, again, depending on the production, domestic consumption, stocks, and so on and so forth. Well, so now it is really a very nice time to have this chat. Well, as corn season approaches to its end in Ukraine, and corn season, unlike the wheat and barley season. Corn season starts from 1st of September, quite similar like in the
United
US
States.
and also in Brazil. So, well, it is quite possible now to make some conclusions and to make the outlook for the next season. Yeah.
What do you believe the Ukraine is going to? What do you believe the potential for number one, production, and number two, exports for corn will be for the new crop year?
Yes, it is key question. We are rather optimistic as for corn forecasts. Well, now The weather factor is again very, very important.
Right.
Well, just a couple of days ago, we were sure that 37 million tons will be this year corn
Okay.
production. 37. Well,
37, okay.
but you see, it is very broad and from a number of sources, signals we received from our friends, from our traders, from farmers, for sure, that you see the problem is that the initial stage of corn development, it was quite enough moisture, lots
Okay.
of showers, lots of rains in the initial stage of corn vegetation.
Okay.
Well, but at the same time, it was quite clearly seen the deficit of warmth. And
Okay.
it is so the corn is not high enough. Well,
Sure.
because corn is corn likes high
It likes
temperature.
heat. Right. Likes
Yes,
heat. Yeah.
yes. Well, so now it is some kind of a crucial point.
Okay.
Well, if the extreme temperatures comes to Ukraine, and it is quite possible as for the next week, temperatures are projected above 30 degrees all
Okay.
across Ukraine, including even in the north of Ukraine. So
Very good.
if extreme temperatures come to Ukraine, well, it might be two scenario. Either corn will offset the previous deficit of warmth and starts to grow and to develop properly, or the extreme temperatures. Sorry if they are too much extreme.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, it might be some losses in corn yields.
Okay.
So if last week we were sure 37 million tons, now we prefer to indicate our outlook as between 35.5 and 37 million tons. It
Okay.
is still we need still some additional information. We need
Sure.
still some time to clarify what will be the corn production and to increase reliability of our forecasts.
Very good. And let's just say, call it 36. Let's just say it's 36 production. If you produce 36, where does that fall? Would that be a record production? I'm assuming no. I think a couple years ago we had a little slightly larger production than that. And what would the exports be? So how much is domestic usage, and how much are you going to be able to export if you produce around 36?
Well, if 36, I suppose total export potential is between 27 and 29 million tons.
Very good.
Something like that, yes.
Very
Yes.
good. And tell us a little bit more, if you don't mind, about the relationship between Ukraine and China. China has been buying a lot of corn, and Ukraine obviously has a huge advantage geographically towards China. So, is China an active buyer of Ukraine corn?
Well, yes. Well, for the current year, the share of corn exported to China is 38%
Okay.
of
Okay.
total Ukrainian exports.
Ah,
And
okay.
total Ukrainian export so far is more than 21 million tons.
Understood. Understood.
So almost 40% of total export was delivered to China. 30% was to countries of European Union, 10% for Egypt.
Very good. Very good. And going forward, Sergey, Ukraine has increased production a lot. You know, you mentioned, you know, what was it, 5-7 million metric tons of corn not too long ago. Now we're looking at 35, soon I'm sure 40 million metric tons. Where do you see in 5 years? And I understand that these are assumptions. I understand that, but just so our clientele can have a better idea, you know, what the potential is for Ukrainian production, corn production to reach, and also exports. Where do you see in about 5 years?
Thank you. You see, Ukrainian territory is Ukraine is number 2 by size, by total territory in the Western and Eastern European countries. Well, you see, sorry. Well, okay. And total area under cultivation in Ukraine is roughly 21-23 million hectares.
Okay.
Yeah, well, and you see, we consider this answer to this question sometimes ago. Well, and it appeared that potential to expand area under cultivation is not so big in Ukraine, in spite of its comparatively big size. Yeah, sure. Well, I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem.
I suppose that a key factor which might promote bigger corn production is profitability, is demand for corn. It is not a Ukrainian domestic factor.
Understood.
It is foreign demand for Ukrainian corn. You see, domestic consumption of corn in Ukraine is comparatively small. Because cattle inventories, animal inventories in Ukraine are decreasing, maybe, not so quickly decreasing like it was 8-10 years ago. Well, but still, unfortunately, the total trend is still to decrease the animal inventories in Ukraine. So export potential, I think that corn prices will be rather stable and high, at least for the previous 3-5 years. As really, in spite of intentions of China to increase its own, to increase domestic production of coarse grain, including corn, to increase, to expand its self-reliance, food self-reliance. Well, I think that it will take turning into reality of these intentions will take maybe more than 3-5 years. So I expect that demand for Ukrainian corn will be rather stable and high. The expansion of area territory of corn area might be at the expense of wheat, at the expense of barley. Well, so in 5 years, if currently is between 35 and 37, I suppose in 5 years it might be between 41-43 million tons. Well, with proper export of at least 35 million tons.
Very good.
And please note that corn production in Ukraine becomes more and more industrial production. with the application of modern technology, the best seeds, nice fertilizers, crop protection, something like that. This also promotes the increase in productivity, in yields.
In yields, right.
We suppose this year yield will be at level of 7 tons per hectare. So if to increase the corn yield increases by 1 ton or 1.5 ton, even not increasing the area under corn, it will immediately add. It will immediately contribute greatly to the total corn production.
100%.
But again, weather factor becomes more and more important.
Right. So just so I understand clearly, you're basically saying that the increase in production, you do believe in an increase in production. Obviously, it depends on weather and so on and so forth, and it depends a lot on profitability, because you do not believe there is a potential for an area increase. You believe that the increase is going to come mostly from an improvement in yields, in technology applied, that will bring better productivity. So yeah, I mean, you could see an increase in area, but that would have to come at the expense of the other major crops, such as wheat or barley.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, very good. Very good. Sergey, it's very important to us Brazilians to understand a little bit more about the Ukraine. Again, it's been there a few times with you. It's an unbelievable country. I have a history with Ukraine. My family originally came from the Ukraine, Dejneka.
Yeah, I know.
And, so it's...
Welcome to Ukraine.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. I always feel like home when I go there. And it's, again, a beautiful country, beautiful people. And I love to see that it is growing, especially, when we talk about the corn market. The agriculture is growing in importance, that the Ukrainian farmer is seeing much better profitability, and that the Ukrainian farmer is able to play such an important role in the world market. So it's very important for the Brazilian corn producer to understand that, because Brazil itself has increased in importance in the corn market in the last 10 years quite a bit. Right, quite a bit, as you very well know. So thank you for all those insights, and I'd be happy to provide any insights that I can provide regarding Brazil to your clientele.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much. Well, Pedro, the most important now question is that, currently domestic corn prices in Brazil are even higher than foreign market prices. Well, what will be the behavior of farmers and the behavior of traders? Do you think they continue to export corn, or they prefer to switch the corn flows to the domestic feed and meat producers?
Very good. Sergey, as you put it very well, Ukraine corn production is going to depend a lot on profitability. And I think that word profitability, margins, that really is what guides a lot of decisions, whether you're a producer, whether you're a buyer, right? And whether you are an exporter, right? So what's happening in Brazil, obviously we've had the worst drought for the safrinha meaning the winter corn crop, right? Which just so the Ukrainians here that are going to listen to this know, that are going to watch this, safrinha means small crop in Portuguese. Okay, that means small crop. The name was given a few years ago because safrinha, or the winter corn crop, corresponded only to about 1/3 of corn production. That's about 10 years ago. Now, safrinha has become the safrão, or the big corn crop, because now the winter corn crop corresponds to about 2/3 of Brazilian corn production, as producers have understood how to time the planting, the decisions for technology, and how to increase those yields, planting after mainly soybeans in the summer, right? So, um, we've had the worst drought in safrinha history, in the winter and corn production history, as you very well know. The total production potential in the beginning of the year when we were planting corn in Brazil for the winter corn crop was about 85 million metric tons. If everything had gone really well, Brazil was going to harvest 85 million metric tons only on the second corn crop, on the winter corn crop, on the safrinha, right? Total production could have been around 115 million metric tons. Well, now we've had a production shortage. We're going to have a safrinha that's probably 15 to 20 million metric tons less, right? So you're looking at a loss of about 20% of total production, maybe 20 to 25. We're not going to know the exact number, obviously, until the combines, get on the field and we start seeing harvest results. But what's happening is ethanol production in Brazil, corn ethanol production in Brazil has been steadily increasing, right? So there is a demand. The corn producer is seeing much better margins, much better demand for his product, right? So for his or her product. So what we have right now, because of the drought, we're going to have a situation where exports are going to steadily decline. We have seen some movement of exporters shutting down exports or switching from exports back to the internal market because the domestic market is paying well, it's paying better, right? And so that has happened. We believe that will continue to happen. But even with that happening, we still believe, and even with the drought, we still believe that Brazil can export between 25 and 28 million metric tons of corn this year, right? So again, there will be some switching. Ethanol production is increasing steadily. The ethanol producer is paying up for corn. The feedlots are paying up for corn, but they're only going to pay up to a certain amount because also Brazil is going to increase its imports of corn, right? If the domestic price gets too high, we're going to import corn.
Yes, currently Brazil imports corn from Paraguay, from Argentina.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. So we had, because of the drought, again, domestic prices, they skyrocketed. They went really high about a month ago, but now they have fallen pretty hard, right? So again, the market can only sustain high prices for so long because demand is simply going to say, look, I'm not going to pay those high prices. I go buy corn in Paraguay, in Argentina, or just I won't export as much as we're going to export before. So the market finds a way to rebalance itself, and that's what's happening here recently.
Well, yes, you see, seaboard prices decreased by 6%. Well, for just for 1 or 2 days. Well,
correct.
Prices for Ukrainian corn were not so sensitive this time. Well, the correction for the week was just 2 weeks, just $2. Well,
right.
But domestic values in Brazil, as far as I understand, they follow the seaboard indicators.
They do. The BMNF price, which is our local exchange in Brazil, has followed CBOT, right? So we have seen prices fall pretty hard there. That being said, the final price to the producer has held relatively steady. It has not fallen as much as the BMNF prices because local basis. I mean, the buyers have to pay up in basis, right? So because of BMNF prices falling, following CBOT price declines, and also we have to make a really important note here. The Brazilian currency, the real, has strengthened versus the dollar quite a bit, about 15% this year, right? And domestic corn prices, when the dollar falls in Brazil, domestic corn prices also follow that. So that exerts a little bit of pressure on that price. So what's happening is the BMNF price, the screen price for local Brazilian prices, for local Brazilian corn, has fallen, but the physical prices, yes, they've fallen, but they've held a lot steadier because, again, we are in the midst of a drought, and we are going to have 20 million metric tons less, 25 million metric tons less than we could have had before the beginning of the season.
Well, Pedro, thanks a lot. And another question: what is your outlook? Well, according to our conclusions, well, it might happen that corn from three key producing countries will be injected in the market actually at the same time in September. This is corn from Ukraine, as vegetation is slower. This is corn from Brazil, the same reason, and also the corn from the United States.
Correct.
What will be the competition will be severe, I suppose, and this will influence the corn prices for sure. But how much? What do you think?
That's a great point, Sergey. We've been talking about that for a little while to our clients, that yes, Brazil is in the midst of a drought. Yes, we're going to have less production. That being said, that's going to be much more of a domestic Brazilian story than a world story, because Brazil's still going to have, let's say 25 million metric tons of corn to export between the end of July and the end of the year, right? And so, and as you very well put it, come September, October, Ukraine is harvesting. US is harvesting a 380 million metric ton crop, right? So the competition is going to be very fierce. I firmly believe that Brazil is going to be very competitive in exports up until about October, November. And then I think Ukraine is going to dominate. I think Ukrainian prices are going to be cheaper in the world stage. And by the way, we're not even mentioning Argentina, right? Argentina still has competitive corn to export, but now they're at the end, they're at the tail end of their export program. They're going to also be finishing up here by October, November. So I think the competition is going to be mainly between the Ukraine and the United States into the end of the year. And then I do believe the United States will dominate exports between, say, January and about May, June of next year, until new Argentina production hits the market and until new Brazilian production hits the market.
Well, and let's hope that next season, well, the situation in Argentina, in Parana River and Rosario Harbor, will be better. This will be better for Argentinian farmers.
Absolutely. We don't like Argentina. We don't like Argentina's soccer team, okay? But we love Argentinians. We love our Argentina hermanos. And so the rivalry is on the soccer field. But we really respect, admire what they do, what the potential the agriculture has in that country. And I agree with you 100%. We hope that they have a much better year next year.
Yes, let everybody, including both of us, be at the top of profitability.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Maybe I can buy a wig or something like that. Buy some new hair.
Yeah. Well, okay. So thank you very much. So now I am once more even more convinced that in the coming weeks it will be really very important signals from the fields, from harvesters.
Absolutely.
Yes, and these signals will influence the price behavior greatly. Especially this concerns price behavior in September and October.
Sergey, we have and listen, I'm in the United States speaking to all of you, and right now for the next 30 to 45 days, this is probably going to be the most important part of the year.
Yes, it is pollination. Yes,
absolutely,
at
right?
least in Ukraine. Yeah,
right. So
yeah,
United States, Ukraine, and during pollination, Brazil is harvesting, and by the way, we have all of the involvement of financial speculators in the commodity markets. We saw what happened yesterday with prices, and so the volatility is very, very difficult to predict, how much are we going to go up or down. But one thing
yeah,
we can say
yeah.
is that July weather here in the United States is going to dictate a lot. And weather production here can be 380 or it's going to be 395 millimetric tons. We're going to find out in the next 30 to 45 days. Same thing for you in Ukraine, whether it's going to be 35 or whether it's going to be 37. So again, we hope for great weather for the producers out there. And we're going to keep doing our job, you on your side, us on our side, trying to help our clients as much as we possibly can.
Well, okay, let's for sure hope for the better and to monitor very carefully crop conditions and weather. Crop
Absolutely.
conditions and weather. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
So
Sergey, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time on a Friday night to do this with us.
before beer.
So that's right, before beer. And I don't know, are you going to play? You got some tennis going on this weekend or no? No tennis?
Well, last week, yes.
Last week?
Not this week, yes.
Very good.
I will play tennis tomorrow.
Very good. Well, enjoy it. Enjoy the weekend. And, I think right now I want to stop right here and say thank you again for bringing this insight from the Ukraine directly to our producers. And I'm looking forward to very soon seeing you in person again and seeing our friends in Ukraine again.
Yes, I hope very much too. Well, thank you very much for your time, for your effort, for your idea.
Yes, sir.
To arrange this chat. Great.
Yes, sir. This is very good, Sergey. Thank you so much. Beleza, and you have an awesome weekend, all right?
Всего доброго.
All right, take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.